The stars looked peaceful that night, if night could be called anything on a ship sailing through endless darkness. Captain Elias Grant stood on the command deck of the Aurora's Edge, his reflection shimmering in the wide glass panels that overlooked the void. Blue and gold lights blinked around him from control panels, while his crew worked quietly at their stations. They were explorers, not warriors, yet tonight everyone felt nervous. The ship was about to make first contact with a race no one had ever spoken to directly, the Varkari Dominion. Reports described them as ancient, proud, and powerful. Some said they were immortal. Some said they lived in shadows and drew energy from dying stars. No human had ever seen one in person. Elias tried to lighten the mood. He had always believed that fear was best handled with humor. He looked at his communications officer, a young woman named Rhea, and said with a grin, "Remember to smile when you speak to them. If they're scary, maybe they'll smile back." Rhea chuckled nervously. "Sir, if they do smile, let's hope it's not to show sharp teeth." Elias laughed. "We've met worse. Remember the Corin traders? They tried to sell us our own engine parts." The crew smiled. Even a small joke made the tension fade. The countdown to transmission began. They were about to send their message through a quantum link, a signal strong enough to cross galaxies. The translator core was freshly programmed to convert human language into something the Varkari could understand. Rhea checked the system. "Captain, link is stable. Ready for your message." Elias cleared his throat and stood tall before the holographic recorder. His uniform shimmered softly under the lights. "To the noble rulers of the Varkari Dominion," he began. "I am Captain Elias Grant of the United Earth Alliance. Humanity comes in peace. We seek friendship and knowledge. We want peace." And that was when the translator glitched. The device sparked slightly, a tiny flicker of blue static dancing across its core. The system recompiled the sentence too fast, skipped a few signals, and distorted the phrase. Instead of "we want peace," it sent across the galaxy, "I want you." No one noticed at first. The message was transmitted instantly, far beyond their reach to fix. "Transmission complete," Rhea said, unaware. "Message sent to the Varkari High Command." "Good," Elias replied, rubbing his chin. "Now we wait." Hours passed. The crew tried to relax, but the silence felt heavy. Normally, alien responses came within minutes through quantum communication. But this time there was nothing. Rhea frowned at her screen. "No response yet, sir. Should we resend the message?" Elias thought for a moment. "No, let's give them time. Maybe they need to process it." He walked to the viewing deck, gazing out into space. The stars blinked like cold eyes, watching him silently. A soft hum filled the air, the ship's heartbeat. Something inside him whispered that he had said something wrong, though he didn't know why. Then the alarms went off. "Captain," shouted the radar officer. "Massive energy signature detected. Multiple ships entering system." Elias spun around. "What, how many?" "6. No, 8 Varkari vessels. They just appeared out of slipstream. They're heading straight for us." The air grew thick. Red lights pulsed across the control room. Rhea's voice trembled as she read incoming data. "Sir, these aren't scouts. These are Royal-class warships." Elias's mind raced. What could have triggered this? The only thing they had done was send that message. He rushed to the console. "Open a channel. Tell them we mean no harm." Before Rhea could respond, the holographic projector flickered to life on its own. The screen filled with shadows, deep reds, silvers, and blacks swirling like mist. A figure emerged slowly, tall and regal, wearing a crown that seemed woven from stars. Her eyes glowed with faint light and her skin was pale as moonstone. It was Queen Seraphis of the Varkari Dominion. Every crew member froze. Even the hum of the ship seemed to hold its breath. Her voice was soft, yet it echoed like music through their minds. "Human vessel," she said, "you have spoken the words of ancient binding. Who among you is Captain Elias Grant?" Elias stepped forward carefully. "I am," he said, his voice steady though his heart raced. "We may have had a translation issue, Your Majesty. I meant to say," but she interrupted him gently. "There is no mistake," she said. "Your message reached me clearly. I want you." A murmur spread among the crew. Rhea's eyes went wide. "Captain, that's not what we—" The Queen continued, ignoring everyone else. "Such words cannot be spoken lightly in my realm. By ancient law, they form a bonding vow, a promise of unity between souls." Elias blinked in disbelief. "Bonding? What?" The Queen's expression softened slightly, though her eyes remained sharp. You have awakened a vow that was silent for 1,000 years. Long ago, our ancestors waited for a voice from beyond the stars. That voice has now called. Yours. Her image leaned closer on the screen as if she could see straight through him. Prepare yourself, Captain Elias Grant. The Varkari Dominion comes to honor your words. The screen faded. The transmission ended. Silence filled the room for several seconds. No one dared to move. Then Rhea whispered, Sir, what did you just propose to the most powerful being in the galaxy? Elias sighed, pressing a hand over his face. Apparently, marriage. Over the next few hours, chaos spread. The Earth Council sent urgent messages demanding explanations. News networks across colonies picked up the story. Human captain declares love to alien queen, possible war incoming. Elias couldn't believe it. He replayed the original message again and again, hoping to find a way out of this absurd misunderstanding. But the translation core had recorded it clearly. The glitch was real. The system had fused peace and you into one combined code that meant personal desire in the Varkari language. Humanity was now on the edge of a political disaster caused by one tiny error. Elias didn't sleep that night. He stood alone in his cabin watching the stars glide past outside. The more he thought about it, the stranger it seemed. The Queen hadn't reacted with anger. She hadn't threatened him. Her tone had been serious but calm, almost hopeful. Why would she care about a vow like that? He wondered. And why come herself? Rhea entered quietly, holding a tablet. Sir, she said softly, Command wants you to return to Earth immediately. They're calling it a diplomatic emergency. Elias nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. Rhea. What if she's not angry? What if she really thinks it means something? Rhea hesitated. Sir, she's an alien queen. They might have customs we can't imagine, but either way, we can't ignore this. He looked at her, eyes tired but determined. Then I'll face her myself. If my words caused this, I'll explain them directly. She frowned. You're not serious. I am, he said. I started this by accident. Now I have to finish it on purpose. By the next morning, Aurora's Edge was surrounded by the Varkari fleet. Their ships were enormous, elegant and dark, shaped like silver wings. No weapons were raised, but their presence alone was intimidating. A single message came through. Captain Elias Grant will come before the throne of Queen Seraphis to fulfill his vow. His world's fate will depend on his truth. Elias stood silently as the words appeared on the screen. Around him, the crew waited for his command. He took a deep breath and straightened his uniform. Prepare a shuttle, he said calmly. We're going to meet the Queen. Rhea looked at him with concern. You're really going, aren't you? He nodded. If a simple sentence can start a war, maybe another one can stop it. The ship's engines hummed as the shuttle prepared for launch. The stars ahead looked colder than ever, but Elias didn't flinch. Somewhere beyond them waited a queen who believed his joke had meaning. And perhaps, in a strange way, it did. As the shuttle doors closed, Elias whispered to himself with a faint, nervous smile, Next time, I'll double-check the translator. And with that, humanity's most unlikely adventure began. The shuttle drifted through the blackness of space, small and fragile beside the massive Varkari ships that surrounded it. Captain Elias Grant sat by the viewport, watching the alien vessels glimmer like floating cathedrals. Their hulls were shaped like wings of glass and metal, glowing faintly with red light. Every movement of those ships looked graceful yet powerful, like ancient creatures waking from a long sleep. He had faced many strange worlds, but this was the first time he truly felt like he was stepping into a myth. Captain, said Rhea, who insisted on flying the shuttle despite orders to stay behind. Are you sure about this? They could take your words as truth and hold you forever. Elias smiled faintly. Then I'll just have to explain myself clearly this time, she sighed. Just don't joke this time, okay? He laughed softly. No jokes, just honesty. The shuttle entered the largest ship, a colossal structure named the Eternal Veil. The docking bay was wide and quiet. Strange purple lights glowed beneath the floor, giving the air a dreamlike color. Dozens of tall Varkari guards stood waiting. Their skin was pale silver, and their eyes burned with faint red light. Their uniforms shimmered like liquid metal. When Elias stepped down, all of them bowed in silence. A tall figure approached. a Varkari noble dressed in long, black robes. His face was calm, but his tone held a touch of warning. "I am Lord Kael'Varen, advisor to Queen Seraphis. You are Captain Elias Grant of Earth?" Elias nodded carefully. "Yes, I am." "You have spoken the words of binding," Kael said. "By our ancient customs, the Queen must meet you in person. You will be escorted to her court. Do not speak until spoken to. Do not make sudden movements. And do not under any reason use humor." Elias blinked. "I'll keep that in mind." Kael studied him for a long moment, then motioned for the guards to lead the way. Elias followed them through long corridors filled with strange art, statues made of light, walls that pulsed like living veins, and floating crystals that sang faint tones when he passed by. Everything felt ancient and alive at the same time. Rhea whispered, "It's beautiful and terrifying." Elias nodded, like meeting history face to face. After several minutes, they entered the throne hall. It was vast, a space where gravity itself seemed softer. The ceiling glowed like a night sky full of slowly moving stars. In the center stood a high platform where Queen Seraphis sat upon a throne made of silver and crystal. Her presence filled the room like cold fire. Her eyes found Elias instantly. The guard stopped. Elias stood alone at the base of the steps. "Captain Elias Grant," the Queen said, her voice echoing like music through the hall. "You have spoken words that reach beyond stars and time. Do you understand what they mean?" Elias took a breath. "Your Majesty," he began, carefully choosing each word. "There was a mistake. My translator device malfunctioned. I was trying to say, 'We want peace, not I want you.'" The hall grew silent. A few Varkari nobles whispered softly to each other. The Queen tilted her head slightly. "Peace and desire," she said slowly. "Two meanings divided by sound, yet close in spirit. Perhaps the stars decided the words for you." Elias frowned gently. "I promise I meant no disrespect." Seraphis stood from her throne and descended the steps. Her long dark robe shimmered as she moved, flowing like liquid night. "You did not disrespect me," she said softly. "You spoke what our legends have awaited. A voice from another world would one day call my heart to awaken again." Elias blinked. "A prophecy?" "Yes," she replied. "Our people are old, Captain. We once walked among the brightest suns. But as our stars began to fade, so did our strength. We survive by feeding on dying light, yet even that is ending. My heart, bound to the fate of my people, has grown cold. Until I heard your words?" Elias looked at her, unsure how to respond. "Your Majesty, I don't think I'm the person your prophecy meant. I'm just a man who made a mistake." Seraphis smiled faintly. "Sometimes mistakes are how fate speaks." A deep sound echoed through the hall, a vibration that made the air tremble. One of the nobles stepped forward and whispered urgently to the Queen. Her expression turned thoughtful. "What is it?" Elias asked. Kael'Varen, the advisor, answered sharply. "Your human fleets are moving toward our border. Your leaders believe you are being held prisoner." Elias's eyes widened. "No, that's not true. I came willingly." "Perhaps they do not believe that," Kael said coldly. "Perhaps they prepare for war." Seraphis turned to Elias again. "Do your people fear me?" He nodded sadly. "Yes, they fear what they don't understand. And you?" she asked, her gaze piercing him. "Do you fear me, Captain?" Elias looked into her eyes, calm, intelligent, and full of quiet sadness. "No," he said simply. "I don't." Something in her expression softened. "Then perhaps you are the first human to truly see me." The hall murmured again. The Queen raised her hand and silence fell. "Captain Elias," she said, "I will not harm your world. But if they attack, I will defend my people. You can prevent this. Stay here as my guest, or if you wish, as something more. Help me show your people that we seek harmony, not conquest." Elias hesitated. "Stay here? On your world?" "Yes," she said. "You may leave if you wish, but your absence could lead to war. Stay, and perhaps we can change what history expects of us." He thought of his crew, his ship, and the message that had started all this. Then he thought of the millions of lives that could be saved by one act of trust. "I'll stay," he said quietly. "At least until peace is certain." The Queen nodded slowly. "Then so it shall be." Later that night, Elias was given a chamber within the royal citadel. It was nothing like a human room. The walls shimmered softly with starlight, and the ceiling changed color depending on his heartbeat. A strange but peaceful feature. A plate of glowing fruit sat on the table, giving off a faint warmth. He sat near the window, staring out at the Varkari capital world, a vast planet of twilight where the sun never fully rose nor set. Towers floated like islands in the sky, connected by bridges of light. It was hauntingly beautiful. Rhea entered quietly. "Command is still trying to contact us," she said. "They want you to return," Elias sighed. "Tell them I can't, not yet," she nodded. "I'll handle it," he smiled faintly. "You always do." When she left, he leaned against the window and spoke softly to himself. "How did a joke turn into all this?" A gentle voice answered behind him. "Because the universe listens to laughter more than war." He turned. The queen was standing there, quiet and graceful. He bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, I didn't hear you come in." "I walk softly," she said with a smile. "I wanted to thank you for not running away. Many would have." "I don't run from mistakes," Elias said honestly. "I try to fix them." Seraphis looked at him with calm eyes. "Perhaps it was not a mistake. You said, 'I want you.' Maybe the stars chose the right words even if your device did not." Elias chuckled softly. "You make it sound poetic." "Life often is," she replied, "even in darkness." For a moment they stood in silence, watching the twilight outside. Then Seraphis turned to leave. "Tomorrow I will show you our heart, the source of our strength and our curse. Then you will understand why your words matter more than you think." When she was gone, Elias sat again, staring out at the half-lit horizon. The stars above flickered faintly, like whispers waiting to be heard. Somewhere deep inside, he felt the first spark of something strange, not fear, not duty, but a quiet connection to the mysterious queen who believed his mistake could change the fate of two worlds. He smiled to himself, shaking his head. Maybe the universe really does have a sense of humor. The next morning began with soft light seeping through the walls of Captain Elias Grant's chamber. The Varkari palace did not use the sun for light. Instead, the walls themselves glowed faintly, like a gentle sunrise frozen inside crystal. Elias sat by the window, staring out at the strange world that surrounded him, a planet that lived forever in twilight. The sky was painted in deep violet and silver hues. Floating towers drifted slowly above glowing cities, and ribbons of energy flowed between them like living rivers. He had spent the night thinking about everything that had happened, the mistake that brought him here, the queen who took his words seriously, and the strange calm he now felt in her presence. He had come to fix an error, but it was beginning to feel like something much deeper was unfolding. A knock came at the door. When it slid open, Lord Cale Varin entered with his usual cold expression. "The Queen requests your presence," Cale said. "She wishes to show you the heart of Varkari." Elias stood. "The heart of Varkari? What is that?" Cale's tone softened slightly. "It is the source of our survival and our pain. You will understand when you see it." Elias followed him through long, curved corridors that shimmered with blue light. The air felt thick, humming softly as if the palace itself were alive. At every corner, Varkari guards bowed their heads respectfully but kept silent. They finally reached a great hall with tall doors shaped like wings. When they opened, Elias gasped. Before him stretched a vast chamber filled with energy, a swirling core of light suspended above a circular pool. The light pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Thin streams of crimson energy rose from the pool into the glowing core. Around the room, dozens of crystal pillars recorded every flicker of the light, capturing it like memories frozen in glass. The queen stood beside the core, her long robes moving like soft shadows in the glow. She turned when Elias entered, her eyes calm but distant. "Welcome, Captain," she said. "This is the heart of Varkari, the last living star we possess." Elias stepped closer, staring at the light in awe. "It's a star?" "A fragment of one," she explained. "Long ago, when our sun began to fade, our ancestors captured a piece of its core and brought it here. We feed on its dying energy. It keeps us alive, but it also keeps us bound to darkness. Every time it weakens, so do we." Elias looked around the chamber. "So this is why your people feed on dying stars. It's not power you seek, and it's survival." Seraphis nodded. "Yes, but our time is ending. This star heart will fade within a century, and we have no way to renew it. Without light, our people will vanish. That is why your words, your accident, mattered so much to us." Elias turned to her. "Because I said I want you." Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the red light of the star heart. Yes, to us it meant more than a confession. It meant that another life form still desired connection with us, that we were not forgotten by the living light of the universe. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The only sound was the slow hum of the dying star. Elias finally said, "Maybe humanity can help you. We've been researching star regeneration technology. We can reignite a sun using fusion catalysts." The Queen studied him with interest. "Your people can bring life to dead stars?" "Not yet," Elias admitted. "But we're close. We can make dying stars burn brighter for a while. If we work together, maybe we could save this one." Seraphis looked at the heart again, her face unreadable. "You speak of impossible hope, Captain. But hope is something my people have long forgotten." "Then remember it again," Elias said firmly. "That's what we humans do. We keep hoping even when logic says we shouldn't." The Queen smiled softly. "Perhaps that is why your kind reached the stars before losing your spirit." As they left the chamber, they passed through a long hall lined with murals. The paintings showed ancient Varkari battles, their ships sailing through flames, their queens ruling over galaxies. Now those same stars were gone, turned into dim embers. "Your empire once ruled half the galaxy," Elias said quietly. "What happened?" "Time," Seraphis replied. "We were powerful, but pride blinded us. We believed the stars would always serve us. When they began to fade, we did not adapt. We clung to tradition instead of change, and now we are shadows of what we once were." Elias looked at her, his expression thoughtful. "Maybe that's why the universe sent you a human, someone stubborn enough to refuse extinction." She chuckled softly. "You think the universe has plans?" He smiled. "Sometimes I do." Later, Elias was taken on a tour of the city below. The capital of Varkari Prime stretched across floating platforms suspended by magnetic fields. Instead of sunlight, the sky was filled with ribbons of energy that shimmered like auroras. People walked quietly through wide plazas, dressed in elegant robes of silver and dark blue. Their eyes glowed faintly, each person carrying the faint mark of the fading star inside them. Elias noticed how calm they were, not fearful or angry, just resigned. It was as if they had accepted that their world would one day fade. A group of children ran past, laughing softly. Their laughter echoed through the still air, a small reminder that life still existed even in darkness. Elias smiled. A nearby guard noticed and said, "The Queen has forbidden despair in the city. She says hope must live even if we do not." Elias nodded. "She's right." That night, Elias was invited again to dine with the Queen in her private chamber. The table was made of glass that reflected the stars above. Strange dishes shimmered faintly, not food as humans knew it, but energy forms that the Varkari absorbed for nourishment. Seraphis watched as Elias examined the glowing food. "You may not wish to try it," she said gently. "Your kind might find it unpleasant." Elias smiled. "I'll stick with the protein packs I brought, thank you." They both laughed quietly, a small human sound echoing in an ancient hall. After a pause, Seraphis spoke again. "Your courage is unusual. Many would tremble before a throne, yet you speak freely." "I guess I stopped seeing a throne," Elias said honestly. "I just see a person who carries a heavy burden." She studied him silently for a moment. "Few have ever spoken to me that way. My advisors speak from fear. My people speak from devotion. You speak from honesty. That's the only way I know how," he replied. Seraphis looked away for a moment. "When I first heard your words, I thought they were fate. Now I think they might be choice, a choice to bridge two dying worlds." Elias leaned forward slightly. "Then let's build that bridge together." Their eyes met, not in romance but in understanding. For the first time in centuries, Seraphis saw a being who didn't worship or fear her, only saw her as she was. And that somehow felt more powerful than any vow. Outside, the universe was changing. Back on Earth, the United Earth Council grew restless. They had received no message from Elias for days. Some believed he was being held prisoner. Others thought he had betrayed them. Fleets began to mobilize near the Varkari border, ready to strike if needed. Elias didn't know it yet. But every choice he made with the Queen was being watched by both sides, by those who hoped for peace and those who prepared for war. Before dawn, Seraphis called him once more to the observatory. The chamber's roof opened to the sky, revealing a horizon where stars flickered weakly. She stood beside him, her voice calm but heavy with thought. "Captain Elias," she said softly, "I have spoken to my council. They fear your people's power. They say humans bring light but also chaos. They wish to send you back to close our borders again." Elias frowned. "And what do you want?" "I want truth," she replied. "Your kind believes in building. Mine believes in surviving. But perhaps both can exist together." He turned to face her. "Then trust me. Let me show your people what humans can do when we believe in something bigger than ourselves." The Queen's eyes glowed faintly brighter. "Then I will give you that chance. Tomorrow we speak to the council together." Elias nodded. "We'll make them see reason." As dawn's dim light touched the palace towers, Elias felt both nervous and hopeful. The Queen had given him her trust, something rare and sacred. He didn't know if he could truly save her people, but he knew one thing for sure. The moment he had said, "I want you," his life, and perhaps the future of two civilizations, had changed forever. The next morning, the Varkari Council gathered in the Chamber of Eternity, a hall larger than anything Elias had ever seen. Towers of crystal rose from the floor to the ceiling, reflecting light like frozen fire. The chamber hummed faintly, resonating with the heartbeat of the heart of Varkari. Queen Seraphis stood at the center, calm yet commanding. Around her, the council members, nobles, generals, and scholars whispered among themselves. Their faces were pale, their eyes glowing faint red, and their expressions ranged from curiosity to suspicion. Elias stood beside Seraphis. His uniform felt heavy against his chest, not because of its fabric, but because of the weight of two civilizations resting on his shoulders. "Captain Elias Grant," the Queen began, her voice carrying through the hall. "These are my people. Some believe your presence threatens us. Others see hope. You must speak and show why we should trust humans." Elias took a deep breath. "I am not here to conquer. I am not here to fight. I am here to help, to show that humans can work with your people, not against you. We have ways to restore your dying stars. We have knowledge, technology, and determination. But none of it matters unless we trust each other." A noble stepped forward, his robes flowing like shadows. "And why should we trust one man from a young, reckless species? Words are cheap. Actions are rare." Elias met his gaze steadily. "I understand your doubt. But look at what I've done. I came willingly across light years of space to meet your queen and learn your people's needs. I could have stayed on my ship, sent messages, or left entirely. Instead, I chose to stand here with you." There was silence. The council murmured quietly, some skeptical, some impressed. Seraphis's eyes softened. She placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. "Your courage is unusual," she said. "Humans are bold, sometimes foolish, but there is honesty in your actions." "That honesty is rare in my court," Elias nodded. "Thank you, Your Majesty. But words alone cannot save your people. We must act together." Kale Varen, the Queen's advisor, stepped forward. "And what of your people? They believe you are held prisoner. Fleets are preparing near our borders. If war begins, all of this trust will vanish." Elias's heart sank. "Then I must reach them before violence starts. Let me send a message to Earth, not as a hostage, but as a representative of peace." Seraphis hesitated. "The council may not allow it. They fear betrayal." "I understand," Elias said firmly. "But if we do not speak, war may come by mistake." That evening, a council vote was held. The room buzzed with tension. Elias observed quietly as nobles argued passionately. Some saw humans as saviors, others as dangerous outsiders. The chamber's walls pulsed slightly with the heartbeat of the heart of Varkari, making the air feel alive. Finally, Seraphis raised her hand. "Enough, Captain Elias will speak to your people. If they wish to attack, they will hear truth first. If they wish peace, they will see it too. This council must follow me." The murmuring stopped. Many nodded reluctantly. Others frowned, but all obeyed. Elias felt a small surge of relief. One step closer to preventing disaster, Elias was escorted to a communication hall. The quantum link to Earth was stronger than ever. He activated it, and the faces of military leaders, scientists, and diplomats appeared. Their expressions were tense, fearful, and impatient. "Captain Grant," one commander said sharply, "we were about to order a strike. Report immediately, and are you safe? Are you being held against your will?" "I am not," Elias said calmly. "I am here voluntarily. The Queen and I are discussing peace. Your fleets must stand down. If they do not, war may begin unnecessarily. A pause. Then a scientist spoke. But the Varkari are powerful, Captain. Can we trust them? Elias smiled gently. Trust is not given blindly. It is earned through action. I am seeing their culture, their values, their fears. They are not invaders. They are a civilization in danger. I can guarantee they do not wish to harm humanity, and we can help them survive. If we act wisely, we can save both our worlds. He explained the star regeneration technology humanity had been developing, how a controlled fusion process could reignite the energy cores of dying stars. He showed diagrams and calculations, speaking clearly and simply. The Earth Council listened, some skeptical, others hopeful. Finally, he ended, I came here because of a mistranslated sentence. But now, that sentence is our chance to do something extraordinary. Don't waste it. The message was received with silence. Then slowly the commander nodded. Very well, Captain. We will hold our fleets. Put any sign of aggression and we act immediately. Elias exhaled quietly. One crisis avoided, but another remained. The Varkari Council still had doubts. The next day Elias met the council again, this time with Seraphis beside him. He addressed the nobles directly. Your people are facing extinction. We humans have the knowledge and the will to help. But we cannot do it alone. You must trust that we wish to aid, not conquer. Together, we can save the heart of Varkari and your people's future. One council member, an elder with glowing crimson eyes, spoke. Your words are bold, but how do we know your intentions are genuine? Elias looked at each member carefully. Because I risked everything to be here. I could have stayed on my ship, left messages, or returned home. I chose to come and face you. That is how you measure trust. A younger noble, intrigued, whispered to the elder. Perhaps he speaks truth. Perhaps humans are not as foolish as our legends say. The elder studied Elias for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. We shall see. Meanwhile, a rival faction within the Varkari court began to stir. Some nobles whispered that the human presence was dangerous. They planned to take control, believing that Seraphis's trust in Elias threatened tradition. Elias soon learned of this through Kael Varen. Captain, some members of the council fear change. They may act against you and the queen. Elias's jaw tightened. Then we must act quickly. If war begins inside this council and humans are nearby, neither of our peoples will survive. Seraphis placed a hand on his arm. Do not fear. Together we will show them that cooperation is stronger than fear. Elias nodded. Her calm gave him courage. He realized that leadership was not about power. It was about inspiring trust even in the darkest moments. That evening, the Varkari court gathered for a ceremony of understanding. The queen addressed both factions. Council members, she said, her voice carrying through the chamber, you have lived for centuries in the shadows, guarding your people's survival. Today, we are offered a chance to step into the light. A human captain stands with us, not as a conqueror, not as a stranger, but as a witness to our strength and our hope. Let us not waste this gift. Elias stepped forward. I did not come to command or threaten. I came to learn, to help, and to show that trust can save us all. Fear divides, hope unites. Let us choose hope. The chamber was silent. Some nobles bowed, some nodded, and even those who were skeptical seemed to pause, considering his words. Kael Varen whispered, You are brave, Captain. Few could speak to this council and survive. Elias smiled faintly. I don't need to survive. I need to help. Later, as the council dispersed, Seraphis led Elias to the observation deck. They looked out over the city, the heart of Varkari pulsing faintly beneath them. You have done more than I expected, she said softly. Your words carry the weight of your people's future. And yours, Elias replied. Without your trust, none of this is possible, she smiled faintly. Perhaps that is why the stars sent you here. Not by mistake, but by purpose. Elias looked at the glowing horizon. The distant Earth fleet shimmered faintly, holding position as they waited. For the first time, he felt the fragile but growing bond between two species. Tomorrow, Seraphis said, we begin planning the restoration of the heart. Together, humans and Varkari. Together, hope will survive, Elias nodded. Together. And for the first time since the message, the mistake that began it all, the words I want you, felt less like a problem and more like the start of something extraordinary. The morning light on Varkari Prime was soft and strange. The sky was a shifting swirl of violet and silver, half twilight, half dawn. Captain Elias Grant stood on the observation deck beside Queen Seraphis, looking down at the heart of Varkari. Its faint red glow pulsed steadily, the rhythm of an ancient star clinging to life. "Tomorrow we begin," Elias said quietly. "Earth scientists are ready to assist. With careful work we can reignite the heart and give your people a new chance." Seraphis watched him, her expression calm yet unreadable. "And if your people fail?" she asked softly. "If the stars cannot be restored?" Elias shook his head. "Then we tried. But we won't fail. Humans don't give up when something is worth saving. And this, your people, is worth saving." For a moment silence stretched between them. Then the Queen smiled faintly, a rare human-like smile that lit her face with something warm. "You speak boldly, Captain," she said. "Few would risk so much for one they barely know, and yet perhaps that is the trait that defines your kind." Elias smiled nervously. "I didn't come here to risk myself. I came to fix a mistake, and maybe learn something along the way." Seraphis turned her gaze to the city below. "You have done more than repair a mistake. You have brought hope to my people. You have reminded us that even in darkness, light can be found, in unexpected places." Over the next weeks, human engineers and Varkari scientists worked together. Star cores were stabilized, fusion catalysts carefully applied, and energy flows monitored. Elias spent long hours overseeing the work, often side by side with Seraphis. The Varkari were cautious but curious. Their respect for humans grew with each successful step. They watched not only the technology, but Elias's patience, determination, and calm in the face of danger. At night, Elias and the Queen would walk among the floating towers. Sometimes they spoke about strategy, sometimes about life, and sometimes about strange and small things. Human food, Varkari art, or how stars could inspire poetry. "You laugh easily," Seraphis noted one evening, her eyes glowing faintly in the silver light. "I have to," Elias said with a grin. "Otherwise I'd never survive the galaxy." "You are strange," she said softly, "but perhaps that is why I listened." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the message of cooperation spread. The United Earth Council witnessed proof of the work done by humans and Varkari together. The fleets were held back. Humanity realized that the mistake, the words "I want you," had inadvertently brought a new chance for interstellar friendship. When the final tests began, Elias and Seraphis stood beside the heart of Varkari. The room was quiet, full of anticipation. "Once the fusion catalysts are activated," Elias said, "we will either succeed or fail, but even if we fail, we will have learned something valuable. Trust matters more than fear." Seraphis nodded. "And if we succeed? Then your people will have new life," he replied. "And two worlds will have taken the first step toward unity." The engineers activated the process. Energy flowed through the heart of Varkari. The glow grew stronger, red turning to gold, then to silver-white. The palace trembled slightly as the core hummed like a living being. Elias watched, holding his breath. The glow steadied. The pulse grew stronger, brighter, more stable. "We did it," he whispered. Seraphis smiled, eyes shining with pride and relief. "Yes, your kind kept your word." The council gathered to witness the final results. Varkari and humans stood together in awe. The heart of Varkari no longer trembled weakly. It shone like a miniature sun, illuminating the city in soft, golden light. The nobles murmured among themselves. Some bowed to Elias. Others nodded silently, acceptance dawning in their eyes. Seraphis raised her hand. "Let this day be remembered," she said, "not as the day an outsider arrived, but as the day two peoples chose unity over fear. Let the stars above witness our decision. Together we endure." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. A joke, a mistranslated phrase, had grown into something extraordinary. One sentence had bridged species, worlds, and hearts. That evening, the Queen invited Elias to her private chambers. He entered nervously, unsure what she might say. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said. "You risked your life, your world, and your reputation. You have earned not only my respect but the gratitude of my people." Elias bowed slightly. "I only did what any human would do given the chance. We help when we can. We build when we are given tools. We survive when we must." Seraphis's expression softened. "And yet it is rare to find one who does so without fear or self-interest." Elias chuckled softly. I have fear. Plenty of it, I just choose to face it. She moved closer, her gaze calm and piercing. Do you remember your words when we first met? I want you, Elias hesitated. Yes, and I also remember how wrong they were. They were not wrong, she said softly. They were misunderstood. But sometimes misunderstanding reveals truth we cannot see. You did not intend what you said, yet your actions proved its meaning. He looked at her, realizing for the first time the depth of her statement. You mean, it wasn't about me personally, but what we could do together, Seraphis smiled. Yes, and perhaps it is also about courage, honesty, and the willingness to trust. That is what I wanted. A partner in purpose, not merely a suitor. Elias felt a mixture of relief and warmth. Then I understand. I want that too. A chance to help, to build, to see our worlds grow together. The queen's eyes glimmered faintly. Then you shall have it. Not as a human to a queen, but as a friend, a representative of your kind and a witness to the future we create together. He nodded, understanding fully now. The weight of the prophecy, the mistranslation, and the centuries of Varkari history all combined into a single, simple truth. Hope is born where trust exists. Months passed. Human and Varkari engineers worked side by side, stabilizing stars and creating a new alliance. Cultural exchanges began. Humans learned Varkari history and art, while Varkari learned human music, mathematics, and philosophy. Elias remained as ambassador, a bridge between worlds. Seraphis often walked beside him on the observation deck, discussing plans, sharing stories, or simply enjoying the sight of the glowing city. One evening, as twilight stretched across the floating towers, Seraphis turned to him. Captain Elias Grant, she said softly, do you still recall what you said the first time we met? Elias smiled. Yes, I said it foolishly and it changed everything. She nodded. And do you still mean it now that you know its full meaning? He looked at her, at the city, at the glowing heart of Varkari, and finally spoke clearly. Yes, he said, but not as a ruler or a symbol. As a friend. As someone who believes in what we can do together. The queen's rare smile widened. Then that is enough. Perhaps the stars themselves are smiling tonight. Above, the sky shimmered. The heart of Varkari pulsed steadily, silver and warm, reflecting the new hope between two civilizations. For the first time in centuries, the people below felt free from fear. Humanity became known as the species that turned a mistranslation into a bridge across worlds. The Varkari learned to trust again, and both species discovered that courage, honesty, and simple choices could change the course of history. Captain Elias Grant stood beside Queen Seraphis, looking out at the stars, and felt a quiet pride. One playful remark had almost started a war, but instead, it had started a future where hope was stronger than fear, trust was stronger than doubt, and humanity, in all its stubborn courage, had once again proven its worth among the stars. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as if celebrating the bond between worlds and the simple truth that sometimes, a single word, even one spoken by mistake, can change everything.